Hi, this is Miss Hearn. Let's get started. We're going to solve this rational equation. You can see that it's a rational equation because it has fractions in it, and the root of the word rational is ratio. So it's a rational equation. The instructions say, for the following equation, write the value or values of the variable that make the denominator 0. These are restrictions on the variable. That's part A. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember, we're not allowed to have denominators equal to 0. So if you set each denominator equal to 0, you're going to find any values that would cause the expressions to be undefined. Now, it's easiest to do this when everything's in factored form, so I'm going to go ahead and factor this difference of squares here into x minus 8, x plus 8. Notice that in these three denominators, we really only have two different factors that are not allowed to be 0. We can't have x minus 8 equals 0, and we can't have x plus 8 equals 0. So that means x is not allowed to be 8, and x is not allowed to be negative 8. So that's part A right there, the restrictions on the variable. Part B asks us, keeping the restrictions in mind, solve the equation. So for part B, I'm going to take my equation and rewrite it with the factored form of the denominator. And now I want to multiply on both sides by the least common denominator. The least common denominator is really just all the unique factors represented to the highest power they appear. The x plus 8 is a factor, the x minus 8 is a factor. Factors, remember, are just things being multiplied. And none of these factors has a power, so we don't have to worry about that. So our least common denominator, LCD, is x minus 8, x plus 8. Now the reason we want to multiply by that is really just to get all these fractions denominators to cancel out. And when you multiply both sides of an equation by a number, you're going to end up multiplying by each term. So as a shortcut, what I like to do on these problems is I'm just going to write it next to each term, keeping in mind when you multiply a whole number times a fraction, it goes into the numerator. And then let's just see what cancels out. Okay, so in this first term, the x plus 8s divide out, leaving a factor of 1. In the second term, the x minus 8s divide out, leaving a factor of 1. And in the third term, on the right, both of them divide out, leaving a factor of 1. So what we have left to solve is going to be 3 parenthesis x minus 8 minus 2 parenthesis x plus 8 equals 5x. So now we've turned a rational equation into another type of equation. This looks like it's going to be linear because there's no powers on the x. Sometimes our problems in this class turn out to be quadratic as well. So 3x distributing through the parentheses, 3x minus 24 minus 2x minus 16 equals 5x. Be careful with your signs there. We're going to combine like terms. 3x minus 2x is just x. Negative 24 minus 16 is going to be negative 40 equals 5x. We're going to subtract x from both sides. So that gives us negative 40 equals 4x, which means that negative 10, if we divide both sides by 4, negative 10 is equal to x. Now remember, our restricted values can pop up in our proposed solutions, but our restricted values were 8 and negative 8, so we're in good shape. X equals negative 10 should be the solution. If you have time, you can go ahead and plug it into the equation, the original equation, to check to see if it works. But it's not mandatory in this type of problem that you do that. As long as we did our steps right, x equals 10 should work. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, please remember to like it. For my students, you have access to this written out solution in your Ask My Instructor OneNote.